inevitable question to start with will be, Sachin rates Brian as the best batsman of his generation, someone who he has played against. Brian, your opinion of Sachin Tendulkar?
He's definitely, for me, the greatest batsman that I've seen, and I know for sure Sachin would have grown up watching Sunil Gavaskar bat. I grew up watching Sir Vivian Richards bat, and I believe that those two gentlemen, obviously in the 70s and 80s, were the top batsmen of their era and their time. And I would rate from the 90s, from the time I saw Sachin bat, I knew he was something special, and his career, how it has turned out, definitely vindicates anybody who thought very early on he was going to be a master, and he turned out to be a true master.
We in the media are always after headlines, and we just got our best headline when Brian Lara says Sachin Tendulkar is the greatest batsman he has ever seen. Brian, you and Sachin share a very healthy relationship and a friendship, because he tells me that the very first time you all met in Toronto in '90, you all hit off. Can you just tell us, what do you all talk about, the two greatest batsmen? Do you all talk cricket at all?
He was only 17 at the time, and I just got maybe about 20, 21, and we were both very young in our respective teams. And I think that definitely strengthened the relationship, knowing that we were young. People were talking about us, but we haven't yet hit the stage up and running. We were just about trying to establish ourselves within our team on the international stage as well. And I think that made the friendship very easy and very smooth. And but we continued throughout the year. Obviously, a lot of people have tried to compare myself and Sachin, which I think is unjust. I think you got to appreciate each individual for their batsmanship, or even if it's a bowler. You got guys like Rahul Dravid and Kallis, Sachin Tendulkar, Ricky Ponting, Adam Gilchrist, all with different styles. And I mean, we sat and we laughed about it on many occasions, and I just believe that we had mutual respect for each other, and we knew how dangerous we were, and we were coming up against each other as well.
In the 1994 series, which was billed as Sachin v Lara, when you were coming here, the one thing I would want you to talk about at length is the pressure that the two of you have played under. I mean, 1 billion people constantly scrutinizing every iota of action that Sachin, even in his private life. How does it feel, and how do you all cope with that level of intense media scrutiny or pressure?
I think I could only speak for myself. At the very beginning, if you were to put my career into 3 different chapters, you would think that, the first 4 or 5 years I was trying to establish myself as a member of the West Indies cricket team, trying to get to the top of the tree. And all of a sudden, 375 happened. And I don't think I was prepared for that sort of limelight, that hero worship. And I went through sort of a pretty dark period, trying to get accustomed to it, understanding what, a cricketer who've done something special has to face, and other sportsmen in other sporting discipline. And the last part of my career, I believe that I embraced it. And if I was to say or speak on behalf of Sachin, I think that, there are times when, you have to get accustomed to that sort of admiration. But at the end of the day, you have to embrace it, because you first and foremost, you're an entertainer. And there are people who are paying money through the turnstiles to come to see you play. And shying away from them or feeling any negativity is not something that you want to do. So I believe that both of us embrace that pressure, be it 1.3 billion people or just 6 million people in the Caribbean. I think you know what you are to them, the respect that they have for you. They might be disappointed on occasions. The media might come after you. But at the end of the day, you need to be as calm as possible, mentally and physically, to appreciate your skill and to appreciate that you have to keep moving forward. And that is key for any sportsman, to have that middle ground, and not to treat triumph or disaster in any one way or the next. Just try to keep it there and move along.
When you and Sachin play against each other, I mean, two of the greatest gentlemen to have graced the cricket field, is there extra motivation that here's one man and the media build it up as Sachin v Lara, I have to excel more? I have to, I mean, in your own mind, is there a challenge that because it's against Sachin Tendulkar, I have to play better?
Not really. For me, it was never like that. Sachin was always playing as a member of the Indian cricket team, and winning the test match was more important than anything else. And yes, the media will build it up, and the expectation from the public sometimes is, focused in that direction. But I never saw it as something where I needed to compete against Sachin. More than anything else, other than myself scoring runs, was to get him out, because we knew how dangerous he was. We knew that the fact that he can take any cricket match away from you. And our main focus in the test match to ensure that his 2 innings didn't go for much run.
Tell us more about that. What was the plan? How did you plan to get him out? In the dressing room, what was the strategy?
Well, I must say, the little master, excuse me, is that the one occasion that I enjoyed the most is when India had 120 runs to make to win in the 4th innings in Barbados. And to go, I'm not sure if it's one up in the series, but
yes,
definitely to win that particular test match. And with Sachin sitting in the shed, you think, well, this is going to be a really tough task. And we tend to try to make Sachin, he was so good with the full face of his bat, we tried to make him play the little risky shots, try to get the ball down to 3rd man or to 5 leg and play with half the bat. He was too good with the full face, so we plucked up mid-on and mid-off and mid-wicket and mid-on and asked him to play more behind point. And Ian Bishop bowled a beautiful outswinger, and I was standing at the only slip, and we took a catch. But generally, that was my feeling of getting him out. It didn't happen much, but I felt that was the one way. If you're a good swinging fast bowler, you have a chance against him.
I will tell you Sachin's side of the story of this match. This 120 that Brian just told us continues to be the match that hurts Sachin the most. The night before, they were having dinner, and there was a gentleman who was serving them. The waiter came and said, "Tomorrow, Ian Bishop will have you." And he said, "Can you see that bottle of champagne? Go put it in the freezer. Tomorrow I will come and open it with you and give you a glass after we beat the West Indies." India was all out for 81. Sachin Tendulkar did not come out of his room for 2 straight days and was crying. That was the worst moment of his captaincy. So you actually inflicted that on him.
It was nice to win one against him.
Going forward, you guys have given incredible joy. You called yourself an entertainer. Tell me about a couple of innings of Sachin that you think stands out, and sort of you've been entertained by seeing him bat.
Well, first of all, the innings that I have the greatest respect for was his double century in Sydney. And if my memory serves me correctly, he was struggling in the test matches before, and being out caught behind, caught at slip. And I think he made a huge effort to try to play anything between wicket and leave those outside the off stump. Now, as a left-hander and as an attacking player, that's something impossible for me to think of, not to throw my bat at it outside the off stump. And Sachin had so much discipline, and he went about accumulating 241 not out. And I believe that is something that was just out of this world. To see the greatest player curb to just get what he wanted and what the team wanted, and that was amazing. I remember batting with him also in Canada, and we were playing on an artificial surface, something like this with a little green mat, and it was a bit dangerous. And the rest of the world, we were playing against Pakistan, and the rest of the world bowled first, and Pakistan accumulated close to 300 runs. The bowlers weren't allowed to pass 12 yards, so you had to run up 12 yards and deliver. And I don't know what Imran Khan said to Waqar Younis, but every time Sachin hit the ball for 4, Waqar Younis went back 5 or 10 yards past and got his full run. And I went up to Sachin and I said, "But what's going on? I told you it's a rule." And he said to me, "Don't worry." And as Waqar delivered the ball, it went about 30 rows back in the stand,
wow,
a deep backward square leg. And I thought, and then he came, and in Indian style, he did like, "See what I told you?" And that's one of the few occasions that we batted together, and we had a great partnership, and every time we see each other, we talk about it and have a laugh.
So when the Sydney innings that you actually said, it's one of the favorite of Sachin himself, 10.5 hours and no cover drive. He says the Australians are sort of constantly sledging, saying, "No cover drive, no cover drive." And he said, "Check the scoreboard." Yeah. That's enough. And yes, he got out twice for a duck. The only occasion when Anjali went to see him bat, he got a duck in Melbourne. She walked out and went home. So that Sydney innings was very important. When you all batted together, what's the conversation like? What do you all talk about? What did you talk about?
I mean, it's a really unique opportunity to bat with a player like Sachin Tendulkar. I also batted with Ricky Ponting. And the conversations, I'm not taking anything away from players that I've played all my life with, but the conversations between the overs, the professionalism, the approach, the way how they think, the information that was shared was unbelievable. And it's strictly cricket information. You know, if the ball is swinging, what's this guy's doing. And I enjoyed batting with those two gentlemen, you know, a lot, even though it just happened once or twice. But it's a unique situation, and the information, as I said, was just unbelievable. A bit different from batting with other players.
Brian, I think the biggest sort of compliment that one can give Sachin is 24 years and no controversy.
Yes, most definitely. Sachin has been a flag bearer for world cricket, and that's an amazing achievement. I mean, what has gone on in world cricket, and we don't need to get into it. I believe that he stood head and shoulders above everyone in terms of his discipline, his dedication, and the true spirit of the game, the way he played the game, and up till the very end, and up until, I suppose, Monday, if the West Indies could take it that far. I think it's exemplary and something that everyone's very proud of.
The one thing which Sachin keeps saying about you is your ability and your footwork. You know, your balance, your footwork. Even against Murli in Sri Lanka, I remember watching you bat, was just simply unbelievable. I mean, how would you rate him in terms of his versatility against some of the best bowlers of your generation? A Wasim, an Alan Donald, a Waqar, a Shane Warne, and some of the others of your generation.
First of all, if I can put it this way, if I don't have a son, right, but if I had a son and I saw him on YouTube watching me bat, I would take it off and tell him to watch Sachin bat. I believe that...
One second. Can you say that again? Say that again.
I believe technique-wise, it's definitely one of the best techniques I've ever seen against all types of bowling. And his balance, his footwork, the way how his head was always over the ball, I believe that is something that any young player would like to follow. And as I said, he is just the best that I've ever seen.
You know, people don't talk about this side of Sachin, the prankster side of Sachin. You know, in the Caribbean, for example, I'm told that one time they were in a taxi, and the gentleman who was driving the car asked, you know, India is playing the West Indies here. You guys look Indian, where are you from? So he said, he was actually sitting in the front row of the car. And he said, I'm from the United States. I don't know cricket. Who are you talking about? So this gentleman said, oh, you don't know, the two of the greatest players are playing here, Brian Lara and Sachin Tendulkar. He said, okay, is it so? Okay, I don't know who these people are. He said, what sport do you follow? He said, I follow baseball. Now, this side, can you enlighten us? I mean, including your case also, do you all geniuses have this streak in you all to make fun at the expense of others?
Sometimes, but you know, it's each individual. I think Sachin does have a funny side. Maybe a lot of people haven't seen that, but I've spent quite a bit of time with him.
Can you tell us a little bit?
No, I mean, we spend time at his home, at my home in Trinidad, and we've had a good relationship. Sometimes things need to be kept indoors, and leave it like that.
Moving on, you know, one has to ask you this. I mean, this audience would want to know from a Brian Lara, leaving you aside for the moment. Ricky Ponting, Sachin Tendulkar, Adam Gilchrist, some of the names you mentioned. Even let's bring Sir Donald in, though none of us have watched Sir Donald. Let's bring other people in. Let's bring a Roger Federer. Let's bring a Usain Bolt. Let's bring a Michael Jordan. Let's bring some of these people in, a Wilma Rudolph. Do you think any sports person has played with this level of pressure?
Well, first of all, I was not in any of those guys' shoes. But I do know, as a cricketer, that the pressure that Sachin has played under, the adulation from his home crowd, It's hard to fathom any other sportsman being under this sort of pressure.